All right, so there's a random guy named Toxic Chimp. Like I'm no joke. On Instagram, I think his name is Toxic Chimp. He asked, "How do I get a girl?" So my obvious stupid answer would be, you get one of these, your pussy level goes to the roof. But of course, then I'm probably gonna get murdered for saying something like that. So I didn't say that. That was just a joke. Let's just leave it that way. Now I think the best way to think about actually approaching like women and getting women to kind of uh, participate ultimately in actually getting to know you is to do two things. First off, to not do what everyone else does, to not use pickup lines, and to understand that women are most attracted to confidence before they're even attracted to how you look. So approaching someone is twofold. It's confidence and it's physical. Because when you obviously don't know them right up front, there's nothing else. There's no other commonality. That's why like picking up someone without knowing them is the hardest thing. Versus most people meet in circles like work, family, friends, because there's that immediate kind of like trust almost. Like you kind of know someone, you know a little something about them. So then if the other two factors like confidence and attractiveness is there, physical attractiveness is there, then it's almost a wrap, right? Because the trust is there. So I think the number one thing is that a lot of people typically don't trust. The trust is what's usually lacking, and because the trust is lacking, it's typically why there's usually a gap between people actually succeeding or failing at attempting to pick up someone. Uh, First off, don't use pickup lines. Pickup lines don't work anymore. Humor works, but pickup lines don't work. And don't humor by making fun of the person. That doesn't really work past middle school or even some elements of like maybe junior grade high school. The idea to picking up someone comes from just being yourself, showing confidence, showing interest, and then being able to continue a conversation longer than like a minute to 2 minutes on the first interaction. Often if you just start with, like you go up to someone at a bar and you start a conversation regarding how amazing drinks are or like how great the place is, there has to be so much attractiveness to overcome the stupidity of that conversation because there's such a lack of connection to that. But if you are genuinely able to identify patterns and symbols on the person, then create commonality with yourself through that, that's where you're going to have the highest level of success because it's going to fuel your confidence to push you upwards. Uh, what I mean by that is look at what a person is wearing. Look at how they carry themselves. Look at how they walk. Look at the heels they're wearing. Look at the purse they're wearing. Look at the way they do their hair, if they're wearing hair extensions, the extensiveness of their makeup. All of these things are symbols of what someone believes. And then the more you notice people, the more you can put together patterns. If you knew someone that was maybe your ex-girlfriend and she did her hair a certain way and wore X type of heels and that kind of purse and carried herself a certain way, these patterns and symbols are going to be in other people as well. And these people will have similar interests and beliefs than your ex. So there'll be a lot of like commonality right there, especially if you identify these patterns over time. You'll be able to catch them much faster and become almost like instinct to understand how people will react to what you're about to say because you'll be able to identify those common values and beliefs without even approaching or knowing somebody. Everything we do as human beings, regardless that we're male or female, says something about who we are. We're wearing these symbols every day, like the color of my car, the brand of my car, the brand of my watch, the way I present myself. These are all commonalities. Like I can tell you a lot of Panerai guys have a lot of things in common in terms of interest in which cars they like, how they run their business, what they do. I know it sounds like completely weird. Why would a watch have anything to do with that? But it does because it's the symbolism behind the items that represent character. And character often is across the board. It's not just in your preference in watches. So these things ultimately can be applied to any relationship, regardless that it's a business or kind of picking up someone just on a love relationship. But I would highly recommend that people are themselves and that you really focus on growing your confidence by not being afraid or expecting rejection. A lot of times people fail because they walk into a situation kind of thinking ahead of time, how will I feel if I fail? How will I overcome that failure? What would be the worst case scenario? Why expect the worst when you can kind of focus on the best and really build your confidence enough to approach? The other thing too, which I found to be very important here, and there's definitely better podcasts and stuff for stuff like this, like Art of Charm, one of our partners who talks about picking up people. But I think one of the main things I've learned through the years is that going into a conversation with a woman and expecting to get a phone number is the wrong way to look at it. You should go into a conversation with a person that you find interesting or attractive to know who they are. And by the end of that conversation, if you feel there is interest and you want to continue getting to know them, then at least the number exchange is the way to do it. I think going into a conversation with the hope of getting a number either gets you the wrong person or you end up failing because there is no real commonality or chemistry or connection in any way. So you might want to start with changing your username from Toxic Chimp, but otherwise, following these tips will help you actually succeed in that. So the question is it better to marry before or after you establish a business? Marriage, marriage, marriage. Something